Hi, my name is Thomas Kim. Today is 2017 and 10th of October. 10th of October 2017. My name is Thomas Kim. I'm Korean, South Korean. And I had some requests from my subscribers. They asked me to show them how to implement GoTo and how to implement function like complete scripting language, how to implement complete scripting language. Actually, implementing scripting language is not that very difficult. This technology, the compiler technology was actually developed in 1970s, 1960s and 1970s. So, at the end of 1970s, complete technology research was done. It's about automata, theory of automata, or push-down automata, something like that. Compiler theory was actually completed at the end of 1970s. So modern-day computer technology is based on this concept. The basic concept of modern computing technology, compiler theory, is based on stack machine. Stack machine is everything. Modern computing is based on stack machine. I'm talking about the concept of compiler implementation. So the very first thing you need to understand is how to use the stack, how to implement the stack, how to use the stack. Something like that. If you understand how to use the stack, interpreting language is not much difficult. However, before I will introduce some books that I will read for most. But before that, I want to remind you one thing, very important, really important. I'm talking through my experience. Okay, so I began to programming back in 1984. 1984, I graduated from high school. Then my first programming language was BASIC. My first computer was TRS-80 pocket computer. It was like 4 kilo memory it had. And the programming language was BASIC. And then I began to learn C++ language first in 1980. Okay, in 1980 I began to learn C++ language first. Then I added to this programming language, and until today, over 30 years, almost 30 years, I have been using C++ language to programming. I have done various projects, quite big projects actually, and I majored in mathematics and physics actually. I have Bachelor of Science. I haven't studied a master's degree, but postgraduate school. But I have studied quite a lot about advanced mathematics, in fact. So that's my experience. From my experience of that long period of programming, I can say definitely one thing. Okay, it's very important part especially for beginners, those who are trying to understand this complex technology or state-of-the-art computer technology. You need to understand. You need to keep this point in mind. If you want to truly understand and take full advantage of state-of-the-art technology, you have to understand the history, its history. Why this state-of-the-art technology was created, why it was implemented this way. You have to understand that. How? You have to learn the history of computer technology development, how it was developed, how it started, and how it evolved to current state of the technology. So, for example, I'm saying the newer technology, state-of-art technology was not created out of thin air. It is usually created following all the experience, incorporating and merging new concepts with old ones. For example, to understand C++ language, you need to understand C language. And to understand C language, you need to understand assembler language, assembler programming. To understand Windows Store application, state-of-the-art technology, Windows Store application, on Windows platform, you need to understand Win32 programming and C++ CX. So, to understand C++ CX, you need to understand the COM technology, Component Object Model technology. It's old technology actually. It is also called ActiveX technology. Most people, especially newer generation, they say COM technology is dead. Microsoft gave up COM technology, ActiveX technology is dead. They say, so you don't need to study ActiveX technology or COM technology. That's absolutely wrong. Why it's wrong? Because it's dead technology, but it's history. COM technology, the C++ CX, the newer technology is based on COM technology, ActiveX control, ActiveX technology. So without understanding COM technology or ActiveX technology, it's really hard to understand the C++ CX. And if you don't understand the C++ CX, it could be very difficult to implement Windows Store application using C++ language. My point is, to understand the state-of-the-art technology, you have to understand its history, its background, why this new technology emerged, created, evolved from old technology. It wasn't just created out of thin air, out of nowhere. It was based on older technology, incorporating new concept. And so to make a complete desktop application, fully taking advantage of modern computer technology, you need to understand Windows threading and asynchronous programming, COM technology, .NET framework. You have to understand. These are not just limited. Without limitation, you also need to understand lots of other technologies. Just a single technology is not good enough. You need to understand C++ CLI. Okay. So in order to understand the C++ CLI, for example, you also need to understand the C# language. So it takes lots of technology to implement a complete desktop application or state-of-the-art technology. If you want to take advantage of them, you have to understand the past, the history, the background, why it evolved, why it implemented, why it was created this way. The new technology is why created. You understand the history. Otherwise, if you don't understand the history of the older technology, it can be really frustrating, really difficult to understand newer technology. I would say it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible without understanding old technology. So now I will show you a list of books that I will deal in this project. Okay. The best book about C and C++ is a book on C. I really love this book, and I think it is must-have for any C and C++ language programmer. And also standard C++ libraries. The C++ standard library, this book is also must-have. And also Effective Modern C++ by Mayer is also must have. There are lots of other C books I have, like C plus concurrency and lots of other C books I have, but I sorted out only the books that you think you should have actually. And these books this front line is must have or must read. And must read. For any Windows programmer, you need 2 books, like Windows 95 and Programming Windows with MFC, JFrog. These books are must have. Also, if we are going to use Python and Plex, so these manuals, you have to print out the Python and Plex manuals in hard copies like this. See? You have to download the PDF and print out and read several times. And Plex and Python, mastering regular expressions, these books are also very handy. For beginners, these books are very handy, in fact. And also this title, regular expression, if you are not very proficient with regular expression, then you also need these books. And this book is called this book is very famous actually. Compiler Principle and Technology Tool. Also, Automata Theory. This book is also very famous and very good book. In my case, I read this book several times. In fact, I have read several times this book, and this book is really good. In fact. So these are about the C and C++ books that we need to implement our scripting language. But actually we have to read lots more advanced text about the C++ language, but I haven't listed them all because I don't want to make you overwhelmed. And another technology that you need, I recommend, these are not actually, I do not use these technologies in my scripting language, but these are really important, I think. COM technology. Inside COM, this should be the very first book if you want to learn COM technology. And this book also COM ATL 3.0. This book is also very important. And also this book is really useful, and this book is must have actually. This book is must have. Now, all these books are for must have and must read. And there are lots of other books, but another technology you need to learn is C++ CLR. This book is actually the best. I love it really much, and this book is also very good. Documentation is very good, and also this book is important for interoperability, COM and .NET interoperability. If you understand the C++ CLR or .NET framework completely, you need to understand the C#, because these books are also very important. I really love to reading these books. And there are these are less important, but these are also very useful books. See, these are very useful books. So I wish you purchase these books from internet, from your bookstore, nearest bookstore. If you cannot find them, you can order these books from iLibraries. I will make a note where to purchase these books from internet. Okay, so these are my favorite books, computer books, but there are actually lots more books I like actually, but I select only the books that I think you should have as a computer programmer. This is my room, my room that I use as my office, and these are my books. This is also my book, and I usually use this room for working. This is outside to prevent sunlight. So this is basically my office room. Looks like this. My machines, I usually work during the day on this desk, and when one machine is busy with some processing, long processing, then I use a second machine here. And this is the camera I recorded. Okay, in next session, I will give you a detailed syllabus, what I will teach you, detailed courses, contents of this series of videos. Thank you for watching.